Can I and my colleague join in congratulating Union Bank on 100 years of outstanding service and investment in our people. My sister here is Saadatu, Fali, Hamu. She is a social justice advocate. I've learned a lot from her, and I suspect you're going to too. Just listen.
Good morning again, everyone, and congratulations to Union Bank for building an institution standing 100 years and more to come in a country where we build individuals. The future must not be left to chance. It must be deliberately and intentionally designed as it ought to be. I will tell you a personal story. Early this year, I made a career leap. And on my last day at work, where everyone tells you nice things about you, or not, Naziru, my colleague, who was the last to speak, said emphatically, Fali is hardworking. She works like a man. From the bottom of his heart, Naziru was giving me a compliment. He's a great guy. But that was his understanding of success. His understanding of success did not have someone looking like me, female, northern, Muslim, in an office, and at that, leading. Not only Naziru views success of women this way. Many men in Nigeria understand success to be not inclusive of whom I don't only share physical similarities with, but I also share the title, girl, woman, never dared to be king. I will go back to my university. There is the Law Students Association in my school. The office of the president of the association is reserved for a 500-level student male. And the office of the president is reserved for a 500-level student, male student. And the office of the vice president is reserved for a female student who is in her 400 level. You see, this is a youth-led and student-led organization that I have designed their rules that I too can win, but not more than them, or not more than a selected few. That is the reality we are living in this world. You see, it may not be easy to change laws, but we must consciously and deliberately change the mindset that design the rules and laws that govern society. I left that system over 5 years ago, and that is still the norm. And maybe that norm and unwritten rule has become even more commonplace and more powerful than some laws in the school. We are in a country that we are continuously and deliberately, socially, economically, and politically excluding women, which what it only leads to is economic impoverishment. And you cannot discuss economic impoverishment and not discuss literacy, because they are completely tied to each other. In Bauchi State, 89.2% of girls cannot read and write. And when I move farther away from where I call home, I come to Lagos, to Ondo, the median of boys and girls reading is at 82.9%. So are we building a system designed for us to win? Or are we just creating lip service? I now invite my mentor, my brother, Chidi, a former lawyer and now a citizen.
Thank you, Fali. But that really is the point, that a lot of our sisters are not citizens. And you cannot build a country without citizens, nor can you build an economy without consumers. For around this country, you hardly have women who are citizens or consumers. And why is that so? Because we're a country comfortable with being nasty to women. If you're a woman, it's a difficult place to grow up or live in. Nigeria, you can't be, and you're not in being. Why and how does that happen? I'll tell you a story. I've got a young colleague, just under 30. Her name is Joy. Joy went to take a cab in Abuja last Saturday, and what happened? She entered the cab, the driver agreed to take her, and then a guy walks up to her, barely a little older than her, not offering more money than she did, and told her to get down because he wanted to ride in the same cab. She had to get down. Why? Because he's a man entitled. Joy is a young woman, and she cannot be in the same space with this guy. They were paying money. And that's the only thing. Now, it doesn't just happen to young women trying to enter a cab. I went to a dinner with a much older colleague, a senior colleague at the bar in Lagos earlier this year. And I was asked at the hotel to register her in order for her to enter the hotel. Why? Because she's female, and when a woman goes into a hotel with a guy, they only go there to do one thing. Now, you see, that is the problem, because if you're female, you're not an economic actor in our system, you are illicit. Now, that idea of making our own fellow citizens illicit is what we are here to talk about, because it's got consequences, and there are reasons why we cannot win with women in a country in which even women are not allowed to be or be in being. What are those reasons? I can deal with a lot, but I just want to concentrate on 3 at the moment. There's a patriotic reason, a nation-building reason why we have to get women working and in action. And why is that so? Go back to our national anthem. 2nd stanza. How does it end? In love and honesty to grow. Sing. Sing, please. Just and true. Continue. Wonderful. A nation where peace and justice shall reign. In love and honesty to grow. You cannot love if you exclude half of your population. Nor can you have justice where you exclude half of your population. And in Nigeria, we love where we come from. And we may disagree and quarrel over a lot of things. We fight over a lot of things. But you know what? We love our country. We love our Nigerianness. To build a country requires recognizing that women have a role. It is called motherland. And there's a reason we call it motherland, because all of us come from one place. We come from our mother's womb. Correct? Because we come from our mother's womb, therefore, we've got to make women work. And that takes us to the second reason. It is smart investment when women are working. When you look at the numbers of financial exclusion in Nigeria, they are daunting. Barely, about 35-38% banked, and that means most of our population is unbanked. Over 60% of that unbanked population is female. Now, the women also in the rural areas where they provide most of the labor, over 67% of the rural population is female. So we are growing a country of 2 halves. One small of mobile people who are able to talk about robotics, AI, and all of that, and a vast majority of women whom we don't want to develop. For bankers and investors, that is an asset base. We have a self-interest in putting resources in. Because when you do so, your bottom line does what? You will see it rise. But you don't just see it rise. You will see the country grow. Women also grow the food that feeds the country because they are the workers that work the farms in the village. That means what? If you put money in women, whether as workers or as investors or as anything, you're supporting the family. you're supporting another generation, you are feeding the country, you are making the women work, and you are making money doing it. Why can't you do it? Now, there's a third reason. When you invest in women, everybody gains, and life expectancy grows for everybody. Look at the equality stakes across the world. The most equal countries have the longest life expectancy. Sweden is the most equal according to the Oxfam Equality Index for this year. Men can live up to 81 years in Sweden. In Nigeria, men will only live up to 51 years. In Namibia, which is the second most equal country in Africa, men can live up to 62 years. There's a differential of 10 years between Namibia and Nigeria. Why is that so? Because Namibia is more equal than Nigeria. In those 152 countries, Namibia is number 2 among African countries. Nigeria is dead last. That is the bad news. The good news is what? We can only get better. The only way for us to go is up. And that is why we need you to come along with us on this journey.
Financial inclusion, political inclusion. And they say, oh, we are not ready. Women have been born ready. We have always been ready. But it's time for you now to recognize that and join us in supporting women. As a bank, what can you do? As the private sector, what can you do in a country that 79% of the population is women? And we also have over 40% of entrepreneurs to be women. I recommend to you to have the X Factor Fund. What will that do? This is a fund solely dedicated for the advancement of women businesses, because once a woman is economically empowered, you can guarantee that her daughters will go to school, her son will go to school. And show me a bank with a fund dedicated to women, and I will show you a bank that is not only building for its prosperity, but building the nation's prosperity as well. It doesn't only make common sense, it also makes business sense. Research has shown companies and businesses that are more diverse and have women in leadership positions tend to perform better, tend to have more empathy. And I wonder, when we speak of financial inclusion, and for as long as I've been alive, the monetary policy of this country have always been decided by a man. When will a woman sit at that table? And when that happens, I can assure you, it will trickle down to the policy implementers as well.
So, as we end, we've got a message for all of us here. We all, as my dear good friend Mufasa says in Lion King, joined in that grand circle of life. What affects the woman affects us. And that's why we are here together, because the Almighty made us male and female. And that is very important to recognize. And in so doing, when we say these things about making the woman work as an economic actor, a lot of people will tell us that is our culture. Well, there's no culture that fosters injustice, and culture does evolve. Or people will tell us, well, we've invested in gender sensitivity. Well, this is not about gender sensitivity. We're not asking you to pander. We are asking you to recognize self-interest and come with us on a journey. This is about gender sensibility. Because when we are gender sensible, not gender sensitive, gender sensible, when we are, the country wins. The family wins. The neighborhood wins. And who else wins? The woman wins. But above all, because we're here amongst investors, you investors will win too. You make more money. And you are in the business of making money. So, let's go become gender sensible, because when you do that, you will make more money. And over the next 100 years, let us invest in creating safe spaces for women, eliminate violence, fund things that make the space accountable, because when it happens, we will be a much better country, a much stronger country, and a country in which all of us, including our sisters, our mothers, our daughters, are all citizens and consumers and winners. Thank you, and may the Almighty bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.